Alrighty, and we have a very exciting guest on today.
It was actually one of the first PTA influencers, I guess, that we kind of reached out to.
Yeah, when we first started, kind of
like 2 weeks after we started.
I want to say it was very
really early on.
Like we were newbies, and she's been great. We finally
got an interview. Not because it's just been. We're both
busy
we're
super
crazy,
busy.
But
we've been so excited to do this one. Again, we're excited for all of ours because we just learned so much over the time. But we are talking with Margie today, also known as Not Just a PTA. If you guys follow her, that's great. If you guys aren't following her, yeah, I was about to say, if you're not following her, you need to follow her. Her content is amazing. But today we are talking with her, getting to know her a little bit, and it's kind of part one of the interview, I guess. We're going to definitely have her on again, but we also did a podcast for her page too. That's a separate episode
on her podcast.
So if you guys are coming over and listening in from after listening hers, welcome. If you guys are listening to this one first, go check out hers. We'll leave her link in the description. And then we'll also tag her on our Instagram post so you guys can find her links and everything.
All right. Now that we've gone through this lengthy intro,
I know.
Let's go ahead and just jump in.
Let's go.
You're listening to the PT Assistants Podcast with your hosts, Ken
and Laura. Thanks for joining for another exciting episode. All right. Thanks again, guys. I hope you guys are enjoying these interviews we're doing. We are enjoying them so much. We're learning so much about our field in different areas that, we don't get to see that often. So I hope that you guys are getting the same benefit out of it. Today, we're so excited to have Margie on with us. We're going to be talking a lot about some of her home health, some of it being on social media. If you guys aren't following her, you need to, because her content is amazing. It's a lot of fun to watch. But Margie, let's go ahead and get into a little bit about you and kind of like your background as a PTA before we kind of dive in deeper.
Yeah, sure. So I've been a PTA for about 4 years now, and I graduated from Northern Virginia Community College with the 2-year program, my local community college. Before that, I was on a 3-year post-grad hiatus, just kind of job hopping after I graduated with my bachelor's degree in exercise science. I really like what I do. I started out in outpatient. Actually, I was a PT tech in outpatient companies even before I went back to the PTA program and pursued my degree. And I did outpatient for about 1.5 years, 2 years after I graduated. Then I switched to home health, and I love home health.
Was it like a world of a difference when you started?
I don't think I could do home health. Home health scares me. I'm not gonna.
Home health, yeah, it was definitely kind of like a 180, just because of the patient population. Treatment doesn't change. I've noticed that it doesn't matter if you go. I can only speak upon outpatient and home health, but when I talk to my colleagues in SNF, like, treatment doesn't change. A total knee is only going to bend and straighten so many ways. It doesn't matter what setting. So the diagnosis doesn't really change. The treatment doesn't really change. It's kind of your availability of equipment and your creativity and your patient population. I have a lot of geriatrics and just that older population when I go into home health. It's rare that I see someone under 50. When I do, it's usually like a car accident, somebody that isn't mobile for a certain time, or a really bad accident or something. But it's very rare that I see someone my age or, are a little older. It's usually someone that's over 50. And the diagnosis, it just depends, but it's very simple. You got ortho, you got neuro, you got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, a little bit of mixed bag.
How long do you normally see patients for? Like, how long are they on your caseload typically?
So typically, home health is very short lived. We're subacute. So they're usually coming from a hospital or a rehab center and waiting to go in outpatient, usually. So anywhere
Okay.
from 2 to 4 weeks is average, but we see them up to 8 weeks, and 6 to 8 weeks is considered long in home health. And I
Mm.
remember in outpatient, it's like 2 to 3
Yeah,
times a week for 6 to 12 weeks. That's
that's
nothing,
like my average.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, "That's the short-term ones."
Yeah, so our goal is just to get them safe in the home, in and out the home to go to outpatient or wherever their next step to rehab is. Um, and so we do a lot like PT is just a little different. It's not going to be, working so much on like I don't have weight machines, right? We're not working too
Mhm.
much on strength, but enough strength for you to get off the toilet seat, get out of bed, get into the car, with or without your assistive device, with or without another person. So it looks just a little different,
Yeah.
but it's just basic stuff so we can get you in and out the house.
So it's pretty much focusing on those ADL safely. It's
Yeah.
kind of the
Yeah,
big
and I
key.
think that's what's a nice thing about home health is like you can actually focus on what they have to work with.
Hmm.
So like if we like an
That's true.
outpatient where we work, it's like we have to do everything we can at the office.
Hmm.
But when you do home health, it's like, okay, your toilet's here, your bathroom's here, your kitchen's here. Let's talk about how you can move around safely. I think it adds just a more benefit, I feel like,
Yeah, I
than an
definitely we
outpatient.
just kind of take a closer eye on those type of scenarios like you've mentioned. And so like, we're not over here trying to get them back to like back to play or back to
Hmm.
sport just yet.
Mhm.
So their goals are a little different in home health.
I feel like it'd almost be beneficial that, like, patients definitely of kind of the older population almost had a home health training that was mandatory in a way. Like, even if they were going to outpatient
Hmm.
or, to doing a skilled nursing, like, if they were in skilled nursing, then they should automatically have, like, a safety slash, like, how to maneuver and do your exercises, like, I don't know what to call it, like,
Like an
advisory or some
assessment.
yeah, assessment or, like, even just, like, a here is what you should do,
Yeah.
here's what you should move around, like, um, as, like, a thing that's, like, required because I feel like that would be so beneficial because all the things you are talking about make sense. It's all about, like, what using what they have
Yeah.
and, benefiting with what they've got, and I feel like even half of some of my outpatient people, I'm like, I need to see your home, like, I wish I
Yeah.
could do that, like
What am I working with?
what am I
Yeah.
really working with? What are you actually got? What are you telling me that's the truth, and what are you telling me that's not? Like
Right. Yeah. So that kind of falls under like the case manager. Usually it's a nurse when they
mhm,
leave rehab, SNF, or hospital. And when by the time PT or a nurse gets in there to do the evaluation, we call it a start of care. They literally go through your house A through Z and be like, okay, how many steps do you have to get in your house? Are you in a multi-level house or are you in like a single story family
mhm,
house? Can they get in and out the tub, or is there a walk-in shower? What kind of toilet do they have? Is it too low? Do we need to order equipment? So it's a very lengthy eval. It's about 2 hours. It's a lot of
yeah.
paperwork. It's
Wow.
like
I
70.
remember that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like 76 iPad pages. So
A
it's
lot of
very in
check,
depth.
yes, no.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of yes nos. To make sure that one, that they're safe in their home, and what do we need to do, and but do we need to order stuff, and two, do they qualify? Are they eligible for home health? Just because you're at home, that doesn't mean that you are eligible for home
Yeah,
health.
yep. Yeah, no, I totally agree, but I've literally had patients lie about where they live. So it's like
Mhm.
because they know the system too, and that's the hard part too, is you get some returners. They know the
Yep.
special words to say to get them
Hmm.
home, whether or not they're safe or not. And so
Yeah.
I almost would rather see that evaluation go down in the home
Hmm.
than like not. But it's an interesting concept and everything like that. But how did you end up making the jump from outpatient to home health? Because most people don't make that jump. Like, if
Yeah.
anything, you see them get a little burned out of home health I mean,
Mhm.
of outpatient, then they go to a SNF or, sometimes they might
Sounds
go
like
to
you're
home
talking about
health,
yourself.
but Well, yes, a little bit, okay, but I went back to outpatient.
You
Yeah,
did go
I
back to
know a
outpatient.
lot of my friends and colleagues, they're like, "You literally went from one end of the spectrum to another, like, you did
Mhm.
nothing in the middle." So, in school, I swore sniff off. I was like told my professors, like, "Please don't put me in a sniff placement, like, I'm begging you, like, I can't, like, it's just not my thing." So I actually was in outpatient and it was very true. I felt the burnout and I actually wanted to
Mhm.
do travel PT. I'm young, I'm single. I mean, this is the time to
Yeah.
do it, right?
Yeah.
That was at the end of 2019 and I left my job near the end of 2019. I went on vacation and I was going to start my assignment. And then COVID started.
Yeah, I was about to
um,
say,
right.
you pretty much started a whole new career
Yeah.
in a scary kinda,
Right.
like,
Yeah,
transition.
and right before COVID, right before that, that last like Q4 of 2019, PDPM and PDGM hit. So all the assistant travel positions were wiped out overnight.
Oh,
I've
Wow.
geez.
heard nightmare stories. People were stranded in the middle of nowhere, USA, because their contract ended, but they had to keep their housing, their short-term housing. They still had to pay that off because that's a different type of contract. Um, I've heard
That's
just
crazy.
yeah, I've heard crazy like, I think I dodged a bullet. I definitely had someone looking out for me, but I was like, "Okay, it's been, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months, and I don't have an assignment. Like, you guys, I'm running out of savings. I gotta
You're like,
work."
"I need some money, Imma be
Yeah.
honest."
So I'm
Yeah.
like, "You know what? I'll just pick up a PRN job in the meantime." And at the time, a lot of the PRN jobs were home health. I'm
Mhm.
like, "Okay, let's try it out." I applied and I started working. I saw, a patient here and there as needed. That's what PRN is. And then it just didn't change. It was now, I think, going on to 3 months, and I still didn't have a contract in my lap. So I'm like, I'm going to have to go back and work at outpatient or something, work another job until this boils over.
Mhm.
Picked an outpatient job, but still kept my PRN home health job. And I just felt like it was easier, like physically, like labor
Mhm.
wise. The most I'm doing in home health that is strenuous for a clinician is stair training or a walk to their mailbox or car.
Yeah.
um I'm not doing, like I don't have to do too much like an outpatient. I love outpatient. I think like you have so many potential, especially with all the equipment you have, but like I'm always thinking of something new, things to challenge my patients. These patients
Mhm.
in home health, they really, half the time they don't want to get out of bed. And then, you know and then the other half, it's like it's very, like you said, it's just basic mobility, basic strengthening. And I was like, this is very easygoing, and I can see how this could be a great gig. Um, I got furloughed from my outpatient job at the beginning of COVID around March was
Mhm.
when it hit DC hard. I think everybody shut down in March.
Yeah. I
I
was
was
about to say
furloughed.
we're the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, furloughed for 2 months, and I still had my PRN job for home health, but they were, like, cutting down patients, so nobody wanted to go in people's homes, and, patients didn't want strangers in their homes, and I don't
Yeah,
blame
that's a
them.
good point.
Yep.
So it was, it was really I'm like, "Okay," like, I've just never had free time like this before. I'm just like, I don't know what else to do. I furlough's over, I get back to outpatient, and I realized week 1, I'm like, "I hate this job. I hate I hate
That
this
is
office.
brutal.
I hate this place. I hate your stupid schedule." Like, I
Yeah,
hated
Where's
you're
my
like,
everything.
literally
freedom?
everything, you're like, "I can't find one good thing right now. I'm
No, like,
done."
and I
Like,
was and
I'm
I'm
so over
trying.
this.
Yeah, I like, I have and I say it over again, like, I really hope my old coworkers, like, don't take anything, like, seriously, but I had no problems with my coworkers, none
Yeah.
whatsoever. My clinic manager, great person, didn't have a problem with any people. It was literally, like, the
The
setting,
job, yeah.
the
Yep,
job.
that
I
was
was
me in the
cranking
skilled nursing. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I was cranking out, umpteenth 20 plus patients a day, double booked every half hour, worked through lunch to catch up on notes, came early and to finish notes, stayed late to finish notes, and it was just like, why? Like, why am I
Yeah.
doing this, you know? It made no sense, and I'm like and, like, one day, I was just like, I make more granted, yes, it was I get a patient here and there in PRN home health. I'm like, I make more hourly in home health than I do in
Mhm.
outpatient, and I do less work. If you double book, you can every half hour, you're seeing 3 to 4 patients, but you're not getting 3 to 4 times your pay. You're getting the same pay in
Yep, that's
outpatient,
true.
and I thought that was very unfair. So I was like, "You know what? I had a student at the time, like, I'm gonna finish her clinic rotation out. I'm not gonna leave her stranded. It was already a hard year. She's, a COVID student during the whole
You're like, "I
virtual
can't do this
school.
to the poor
Yeah, I
soul."
can't do it to her. And I was upfront. I told her before I told my clinic manager, I was like, hey, this is the deal. I'm quitting.
I'm over
But
You're my
this.
I'm gonna
last.
This is
right.
done.
Her eyes
Right.
probably got so big,
But
she's like, "Oh my
yeah,
gosh, what's
yeah,
about
but
to
I'm like,
happen?"
I'm gonna see you out through your rotation. I promise I'm not gonna abandon you. And then I had a talk with my manager, and I'm just like, I need to move on.
Mhm.
So yeah, I applied to a home health full time position with another company, still kept the PRN position, and it was great. Like I'm just like I've hit jackpot. I wake up when I want. I start when I want. I cook and eat breakfast at home. I'm not chasing down a Mickey D's
Man,
sandwich.
she's making it sound so good right now,
Right.
gang.
Yeah, I know, and I
Do we
think
have home health positions here?
right. I get off when I want. I don't have children, but I tell my colleagues who do have children, this is it. You want to see your kids on the bus and go pick them up and do activities after school. This is the gig. You want to let's see. You want to let's say like for example, my side of the family, we don't celebrate Thanksgiving. It's my
Mhm.
fiance side. So if it's not a year that we're not going to see his family, it's just another day. I'm willing to work, and so in home health, you can work as much or as little as you want. You wake up, you have migraine. I have chronic migraines. Don't want to work, call my patients, push them off to another day.
Hmm.
There's no PTO involved in that. I just, probably let like my head PT or manager know I'm not coming in today, but I'm going to see my 30 visits. Maybe I'll see them to the rest of each day for the rest of the week or bump them to Saturday mornings. I don't have to work weekends. And I remember we were like rotating Saturday mornings at outpatient. It was just like, I'm really trying to find a con, and there are cons, but I
It's
just
the smell for
really,
me.
yeah, I was just
That
like,
terrifies me.
it's like home health. And I'm like, you guys are going to have to pay me a lot of money to get me out of home health. Like, I don't see myself in another setting right now.
Yeah,
That
no,
and,
it
like,
sounds
as
like
far as,
it
like, the
works out
pay
amazing.
differential too, like, you have your freedom of
Oh, big.
schedule,
I make 60% more than I did in
and
outpatient right
that's the thing, like, you
now. Mhm.
saw so many more patients than outpatients.
Mhm.
Or home health, you get so much more money for less work,
Yeah.
and like you said, the freedom, like, I had a friend, same thing, he had a son, and he was like, "I can spend more time with the family, I can see them
Mhm.
more often, like, I don't have to be at work so much."
Yep.
For him, he said, like, there's busy times and slow times, and it
Yes.
kinda just comes in spurs.
Mhm.
So he's like, "When it is busy, just save your money because you never know when the next drought's gonna be." Like,
Yeah.
has that happened to you as well?
Yeah. So, I have noticed that around kind of like the end of some fiscal year. So it's either around June, July, or
Mhm.
December, January when insurance start over, depending on
Mhm.
when their enrollment date is. It's a little slow because they haven't met their deductible yet or whatever. Those are non-Medicare patients, obviously.
Yeah, I was about
Um,
to say we see that in outpatient too. I
yeah.
think that hits, like, every single field the same way because
Yeah.
they're like, "I haven't hit my medical, I'll
Yeah.
wait till I do my 5 doctor's appointment." I'm like,
Right, yeah, you gotta hit your
"I get it."
deductible. And then I do notice that I see a lot of post-op patients in spring, summer, because it's warmer. Who wants to get a total knee done? I mean, today it's like 40 degrees in DC. Like, I don't blame you, you know?
Right.
So it does, and for me, slow is not having work. Slow is just like our requirement quota is like 30 visits a week. So maybe it's more like 24 to 26.
Mm,
So it's not necessarily slow. It just, isn't as busy. I went from full time to now being from a W-2 employee to independent contractor at 1099. So I'm
mhm.
contracted with multiple companies. So if one company is slow, I knock on all my other companies like ramp me up. you know?
Well,
That's what I've heard is a lot or, like, don't just do one company too, kinda
Yeah.
with home health.
Yes.
Get a bunch of
but
different contracts because if you do hit a drought with one company, the other
Mhm.
company might not be hitting a drought. They might be ramping up. Never
Yes.
know.
so switching to the 1099, does that
Mhm.
prevent you from trying to hit that 30 quota, or do you have quotas for each company that you still have to hit?
No, it's they know they hire me as as considered PRN, so they know it's as much or as little as I want. Some companies there are weeks where I'm literally like 25 patients with them. Some companies I'm one or two, or some none. Like I have one or two companies right now. They don't have any patients. I don't know what the reason are. I don't know if it's a staffing issue. I don't know if they're going through an audit because it is that time of year. But it's just
Mhm.
like, when they have it, they hit me up, and when they don't, they don't. So it's a big, you have to be a little proactive and have open communication, or else you may be forgotten, like as a PRN employee. So you work as much as you want. Like during the holidays, everybody wants to make a little bit more money, right? So this is my time to thrive. But
Or you
when
have
with
people like me who are like, I don't wanna work at all practically
yeah,
during the
there
holidays.
are
I got
times
Yeah.
too
like
much
that.
going on."
Right. So, I actually took a week off in October. I wouldn't call it a vacation, but I was at a wedding in Italy, and I
Mhm.
just took off, and it wasn't like I didn't have to worry about PTO. They figured out coverage for me. I just let all my company know I'm gone from this date to this date, and like you're set. Like I know sometimes for a W-2, a full-time employee, especially an outpatient, you got to make sure you have coverage if you're gone. Like you got to talk to your colleagues and coworkers. There are blackout dates. Not everyone can be off for
Mhm.
Thanksgiving. I made it a rule that after leaving outpatient, I don't want to work weekends unless I want to. It
Yeah.
cannot be in my contract that you have to work Saturday mornings or rotating Saturdays once a month. No, it's if I want to, and I don't work holidays unless again I want to. So it's a lot more. It's a lot more focused around me and what I want, and I feel like it's better for my mental health. It's better work life balance. So it's the setting that works for me, but it's not for everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it sounds pretty awesome. When
Uh,
listening to you, I'm kinda like,
maybe I should give it a try.
I'm again still in the wrong the scary part for me is going into other people's houses with smells. I'm very
Yeah.
sensitive to smells,
Mhm.
and I'm not one who can hold back a gag, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
If it smells weird to me, there's a good chance I'm gagging, and it's
Yeah.
not even that I don't mean to do it or anything, it's just my
It's
natural
a
reflex.
reflex.
And I
Yeah.
don't wanna disrespect people in that way.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that's the hard part is, like, that just is natural for me.
Yeah, it's definitely I'm gonna let you know, Laura, it's probably like a coin flip, to be honest, it is 50-50.
Mhm.
What's good about being a PTA is if you have a really good relationship with your PT, they'll give you a heads up, "Hey, this person has cats. Hey, they're a smoker. Hey, they're a hoarder. Hey, they are incontinent and the whole house smells like urine." They will give
Yay.
you a heads up. Yeah, a lot of am very open to my PTs. We text all the time, and it's great because when it's re-eval or discharge time, I'm like, yes, no, they're ready. They take my
Right.
feedback very seriously. I am their eyes and ears. So it works
Mhm.
both ways. But yeah, it is a chance that the house may or may not smell, may or may not have pets, and may or may not have bugs. I'm more scared of bugs than I am of COVID. Suit me up. Put me in full respirator.
You want the
Put me in
She's like,
full
"I
hazmat,
want
get rid of the
the
PPE.
hazmat
bugs.
too."
Put me in full PPE. I'm ready to see a COVID patient. But God, if I see, and I know I'm speaking too soon, if I see another roach, and it's not ever one in a house. When you see one, you know the family's there's somewhere else around. It's never
You're like,
just
"There's more
one.
than one." It's like a what do they
It's a
call,
Like a
like
breed.
a
swarm?
yeah,
Like
a
a
well, they say dolphins, if you see one on the surface, there's, like, 10 underneath. Yeah, it sounds like that.
Yeah, they're somewhere around here. So it just creeps me out. But I'm like, I'm not
uh-huh.
those are things that don't get to me as much. Like, people are, really scared of COVID, and they have a right to be. But I'm like, no, give me all the COVID patients. Take the bug patients. I can't. I was
I
like,
think I'd be on
that's
the
my
same with
thing.
you.
Your
Like,
That's
thing
where
is
you
my
draw
thing
the
I'd be
line.
smell.
like, "Give
My
me the
thing's just
COVID
bug.
patients, take the smelly patients." Like
Yeah. Yeah, and that might work because there are a lot of clinicians like that go into home health that they need the money for whatever reason, and they will take any and every patient. It doesn't matter. And there's people like me. I'm just like, if I don't feel safe, or there's just suspicious activity going on, and I don't feel comfortable, then it's a no for me.
yeah,
And you
that's
have
So
that
that
was gonna be
right.
on
actually my next question is, can you
yeah,
Yeah.
so
turn
like
down patients when you don't
how's
feel
the
safe in a
denial
certain
work?
area?
Very easy. Like, I just I usually give my supervising PT a heads up, whoever I'm sharing the patient with, and my manager, I'll CC them in a text or an email. I'm like, I'm not comfortable working with this patient because of XYZ, or I don't feel safe in this patient's house. Please remove off my schedule, reassign, or there needs to be another evaluation or an assessment to see if this patient is safe for home health and safe for our clinicians. And they take it very seriously. I've never had a problem in home health
That's awesome.
denying or declining a patient. I've had an issue in outpatient where I didn't want to see a patient because they were inappropriate, and they were still on my schedule for like 2 weeks.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've
so
been fortunate enough that
Yeah.
every PT I've ever worked with takes that very serious. Because I had
mhm,
one where I stormed out, pretty much I got my 8 minutes in for a treating
yeah,
and stormed out of the room and walked right into my boss's room and said, "I will never do it again." I told him
yeah,
straight, and I've never done that, and so he knew when I came in and said, "I'm not treating this person," he knew it was serious, and then, of
yeah,
course, I told him the situation, and luckily, he took it very serious, so, like, I could not imagine being in that situation where I would still have to treat that patient, and even seeing that patient
yeah.
got me, like, triggered, like, I
Oh
didn't
yeah,
wanna be in the
I.
gym the same
Mhm,
time, like, it was
mhm,
so inappropriate, like, I felt so uncomfortable in my own workplace while he was there, and, honestly, I'll give credit to my PT and our staff that they worked the best of, like, if he was in the gym,
Hmm.
they never made me I would go in the back room and do notes or something like that instead.
mhm.
So, like, I couldn't even imagine someone keeping him on my schedule for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
No.
it got I had to like threaten to take legal matters, and that's when they're like, oh, like I took it up to HR,
Mm,
and that's when they're like, okay, you guys need to like, I said, hey, he can still come here, get PT, just with another clinician. It can't be me. I don't care what time he comes, he could be there in my present. I'm just not treating him, and they didn't take me seriously. And it was unfortunate, but no, I've never had an issue
that's
in home health, and they take it very seriously. Most of our home health staff, especially when it's internal and case managers, field administrators, they're women, they're nurses. So I think there's
mhm.
that maternal kind of like women's intuition, we got your back
Like,
type of thing.
yeah,
No
we'll take
questions
care of you.
asked. Yeah, yeah. So I've never had that issue.
That's awesome. That's really good.
Uh, you said you work with like 3 different companies, right?
7.
7? How like
She's like, "Yeah, 3
yes.
plus 4."
Yeah. How many people are like on each team? So like say like and now it does happen, like how many clinicians are there to be able to take that caseload? Whether you request time off or you can't see a patient or you don't want to see a patient. Are they
um,
pretty big teams or
yeah.
smaller?
Absolutely. Most people in home health are PRN. So it's funny. I've seen a repeated PT in like two or three of my other companies, like in their
Oh,
roster.
also working
So
with them.
Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah. I'm just not gonna say anything. Maybe they don't recognize me. I don't know. So there's never been a problem with coverage. Really, I just give them a list. I give them ample time, like 2 weeks. I'm usually the type I give them a month ahead if I know I'm gonna be out for like a week or more. Um, and they just take care of it. Either the supervising PT will see them, another PT in the area. What ends up happening is whoever's in that locality, like I am seeing 4 major cities in my county. So whoever's in that area, they'll usually ask them first, like, hey, this PTA is out. Can you see this patient? He's at XYZ zip code. And that works out best. Again, there are other clinicians who will drive any and everywhere. I am not one of those clinicians. And they're like, yeah, sure, I'll pick up whoever. and we'll drive 30 minutes one way, and here I don't know about
Ooh.
you guys, but 30 minutes one way, that could be that could be 10 miles, it could be 25 miles. So
Mhm.
um but again, like I said, they're here usually because the money's good. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
Yeah.
lie. So they're like, I don't care, take me, I can pick up. So there's always somebody to pick up. I've never had an issue. They're like, no, you can't go because Mr. So and so can't be
Hmm.
covered. Never had that problem.
Do any of
Interesting.
the
That's awesome.
companies work in like mileage at all?
Yeah. So usually, if you are full time W-2 employee, mileage will be reimbursed. It's usually a couple cents per mile. So my average, I've seen 46 cents a mile, 50 cents a mile. That's usually, I haven't seen anything higher than that. As an independent contractor, there's no mileage reimbursement, so I would keep track of it each day, each week, and then claim it on my taxes
Any
at the end of
Yeah.
the
taxes?
year. Mhm.
Because I was about to say, if you're a W-2 type employee, they have to reimburse you for, travel. If you're
Yes.
traveling outside a certain radius of your set home
Mhm.
location, they
Mhm.
have to reimburse you. This is where I know this information just because my dad owns his own flooring company,
Nice.
and so when they travel, he has to pay his employees. But if you are an independent contractor,
Yeah.
you do not have to get reimbursed by the company. However, you can claim it as a tax deductible expense on your taxes
Yeah.
for work.
Yes,
Mhm,
and
so
then
keep track of it.
piggybacking off that for everybody's listening, because tax time is just sneaking up around the corner.
It is
You
around the
also
corner.
can claim card depreciation on
Mhm.
your taxes too. I'm still unfamiliar. I have an accountant I work with, so I just know the term. I don't know like the math
How to
behind
do
it.
it.
Yeah, so that is something you want to look into if you are using a personal car for home health, which most clinicians are. It's
Uh-huh.
rare that a company has their own fleet. I only know of one company right now that's in my roster of companies that have a fleet that you can
I'd
use
want my
their
own car
vehicle.
too.
Yeah,
I'd want my own car. Like, you wanna be comfy in your car when you're traveling that much too.
right.
I wouldn't want someone else's car.
I guess it just depends because my car I bought in like 2020. It was a 2021 model, so like all these miles are killing me.
Oh,
I know I
yeah.
get
Oh,
to
and
claim
you
it.
just got it too, yeah.
Yeah, so like that's if you don't want to put miles on your car, you don't want to worry about maintenance. That company in particular gives
I
you a
guess that
gas
is
card, so it is a perk. It's just like because I work for multiple companies, I can't show up at another patient's house and it's not
using
the same
another one.
company. Yeah, that's weird. Um, so
I don't think
um,
they'd want you to do that either.
right, yeah, I don't. There's definitely some like legal format I got to sign off. I can't do that, but yeah, I definitely prefer my own car.
Yeah. So I know we talked a lot about home health and we're kind of at the time, but I do want to briefly touch about you in social media because we're kind of seeing this trend, I think, in general with healthcare just starting to kind of come on social media, sharing more of our story, what we go through in day to day life. What
Mhm.
made you want to get on it and become more involved?
It started probably a year after I graduated, and I didn't see a lot of PTA communities or pages on social
Mm-hmm.
media. A lot of PT or physical therapy pages were DPT and PT heavy. And
Yes.
so I was just like, I mean, we're kind of the same, but not really. So I started a page, and it was like no traction. It was like 5 likes, and like three of those likes were like my friends from school, and the
Yep.
other two were like, my boyfriend. And it was just like, it wasn't
The family
anybody.
members, you're
It
like,
wasn't
please go
going
like it.
it wasn't going anywhere. And so, and I would post very, very randomly. So when I got furloughed in March of 2020, I'm someone, I feel like I always got to be busy. I can't sit still. I like picked up so many hobbies during the pandemic because I didn't know what to
Mm-hmm.
do with myself. So I really focus on my social media. I took a free master class to like how to do social
Mm-hmm.
media, how the algorithm works, hashtags, and what to post, when to post, and just started kind of reaching out to anybody that had like PTA or SPTA in their bio or name on Instagram, and be like, hey, like I really want to start highlighting PTAs, and I was wondering, can you come on live and just talk about your journey and your story. And it blew up. I
Mhm.
wouldn't say overnight, but like during the pandemic, because everybody was on social media on their
Yeah.
Yeah.
phones, it really blew up. It gave me a lot of opportunities. I met so many great people, and it just opened the doors. And I'm hoping that by doing this, that more PTAs, have their own pages, have their own
Mhm.
products, have representation, and that we're not just assistants and we're not just sitting in the background doing patient care.
Yeah.
Some people, this is their second or third career. Some, this is, right out of high school, went to community college or trade school. They all have different stories. We all have different stories, and I think it's important we share and highlight them,
Couldn't agree
because
more.
once we start sharing stuff like our struggles, we don't feel so alone, right? When you fail that one test or practical, you're like, how could I,
Mhm.
Yeah, like
and
bounce
you're,
back and
yeah,
You're like,
everything.
"I won't be able to do it." Yeah,
yeah.
there's many of those days.
Yeah, or like, you're kind of being underlooked and overworked. We talk a lot about burnout. There's a sense of
Mhm.
community there, and I think it's tighter because it is PTAs and not DPTs. And no offense to DPTs, we wouldn't have jobs without them.
Yeah.
But I felt like it needed to be more specific, and I, wanted PT events, specifically APTA events, to really shout out and invite more PTAs. They talk about
Yeah.
inclusive language, which is, including people no matter what gender, race, sexual orientation, but you also have to include PTAs in your language too. And I
Mhm.
called them out on that because I'm like, there's no way you can be inclusive and you don't even include a whole entity of who you're representing.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that with that change, one, you don't have to go the DPT route to be in PT, career, school, field,
Mhm.
whatever. And two, that there are a lot of us out there. And I'm glad that I still get really warm when someone DMs me like, I'm a PTA and there's nothing out here. And I'm so glad I found your page. And that really warms my heart because then they have
Yeah.
someone to talk to, whether they
Hmm.
had a bad day in school or, a DPT that don't really know what PTAs are.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
ever
It's happened. I
experienced
had
that?
that. Well,
Yeah.
I had that with MICI. The very first time she ever had a student, I was the
Yeah.
first PTA she ever worked with, and
Mhm.
she didn't even know what we could and couldn't do, and I was like,
Yeah.
"What the hell are you doing overseeing me right now?" But,
Yeah. Yeah. I love it when they ask me questions like, "Hey, like, I really like home health. You make it sound great." I'm like, "Yes, but I'm not sponsoring home health." Like I said, not everything is for everybody. You
Mhm.
couldn't pay me to go on a sniff. My best colleagues love sniffs. I don't
Oh,
know
my
why.
mom loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think it highlights things that, I didn't know about pet PT. I didn't know there was PT in jail settings. I didn't
Mhm.
know it opened up a lot of things and how our programs are all different. Our clinical rotations were all different. So, I think the more people we can get together and just talk, I think it creates a better environment, and maybe we can tackle some of these things like legislation and like
Mhm.
supervision, and billing and all that other stuff that we have to deal with that are outside patient care. Because I don't think anybody that's a PT or a PTA hates physical therapy. It's all the other stuff. It's Medicare. It's
Yeah.
billing. It's
It's like
It's
it's
the
an overload of
work.
politics.
Yeah.
patients because
It's
of it,
never
like
patient care. It's never the
Yeah.
exercises or the activity. It's all the other crap. And I think, if we highlight more of us, maybe we can tackle and make a bigger change in what's going on in our community. Maybe if people finally see and understand what we are, and we're not tech,
mhm.
we're not glorified techs, and we're not just assistants. And that's just my hope. And I
Yeah.
love when I like ran to your page and other people's pages that I'm like, they're PTAs too. And it makes me so happy. And I hope that it continues.
No,
Yeah,
we
I hope
agree. We just
we only
wanna
grow bigger and everything like that
more
too,
and more
like
people do it too.
Hmm.
yeah, because like, that's the thing too is we kinda come on and, we joined, we came across your page, started talking to you pretty early on when we started this, and then we've also come across the, PTA social, server, page, which and then we just started learning about how all there's so many more avenues for PTAs that we didn't even realize.
Yeah.
Like, I just learned apparently there's PTAs that can work in jails. Didn't know that. I
Yeah,
just learned
I know
Right.
that,
that.
Just
like,
now.
just now, and so, like, that's the thing is I feel like sometimes as our field in general, we do a horrible job of
Mhm.
actually communicating what different routes there are.
Mhm.
Um, and the only way we're gonna get better is if we start sharing this information with each other in a way, and then hopefully, that can grow to the institution itself. But I'm with you.
Absolutely.
I feel like PTAs back in the day were a little bit more of just like, yeah, here's a helping hand here and there, but we are more prevalent. We are more in the field now. There's more of us. We are more hands on now than ever before. Our role has changed within the APTA, and so does our status needs to change too. And I
Yeah.
think the only way we can do that is by coming out and having a voice and giving our opinions and showing up where need be, because it's the same thing like we don't have the right to complain if we're not doing anything about it, and so that
Right.
means talking to people that you're working with, communicating with the
Mhm.
APTA about how you feel, like, we've shared our opinions on certain things off camera on a couple
Yeah.
of things, so, like, it's great that this gives us that opportunity and voice, and I understand that not everybody wants to do this kinda thing.
Mhm.
I was very, very
Being a little
hesitant,
hesitant.
very
It
hesitant to
kinda
do
just
this.
came out on a whim. Like, "Yeah, you wanna just start it?" And like, "Yeah, let's
Yeah,
let's see how
Ken
this
did it.
goes."
I was for me,
And
it was, I've had my Achilles tendon surgery, my foot has never been the same, it still probably will never be the same to this day, but I had to completely step away from PT, and I realized at the time, I felt like I was going through a breakup, and
Mhm.
I thought it was the field itself, and really it was just a combination of things, and I missed it so much, and this was my way of staying in it with Ken, was starting this podcast as I let my self heal, and do something else for a little bit of time, and it's the same thing, like, I'm not like, not everybody wants to be on social media, I totally
Yeah.
get that. It's not meant for everybody, but you can still have a voice, and
Yeah.
that, I think that's the important thing is, just because you don't wanna be visibly out there and that kinda stuff, you still have a voice,
Mhm.
and let that voice be heard, and, whether that's writing a letter or communicating with your APTA reps, like, your voice does matter in this opinion, if that makes sense. There's my
Yeah.
soapbox for the
Mhm.
day.
No, I agree because like there's a
Beautifully
lot
said,
of
beautifully said.
yeah, a lot of PTs didn't know what was going on, with the
Mhm.
Medicare cuts. They're like, what does that mean? They didn't know what Part B and Part A was, which is shocking. And I'm like, you don't know how your company bills. That means you don't know what's going on. And I don't blame them because
It's a
that
lot.
weird yeah, it's a lot. It's a language that a lot of people don't understand. It takes me a lot of time to
Mhm.
decode what is really being said in legislation because it's not made to speak in layman's term. So
Yeah.
I feel like
It's lawyer's term.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah, it's
you
straight
know.
up.
Right. So it's hard, and I think it's a safe space for somebody to say, "Hey, I don't know what all this stuff you're posting. What does
Mhm.
this mean?" And I'm like, "Hey, for them to come out and say, I don't know, that's really brave." And it
Yeah.
starts somewhere, instead of being bashed or embarrassed on social media, which is happening a lot lately. It's a safe space that we can be like, "Hey, this is what it is." So this is, break down to them what the problem is, where they stand on this, and how it affects us. I think if we take the time to do that, we can make bigger changes in our field. And I do see our field growing. Like a lot of times, at least once a day or something, somebody comments or DM me like, "Do you think PTAs are disappearing?" I'm like, I don't,
No.
because there's no way that PTs can do this on their own.
They can't see the amount of
Yeah,
volume on
there's
their own.
no
There's no
way.
way they've which is great thing in a way because of the
Yeah,
fact that they've created job security for
yeah,
PTs, and they've also in a way built in job security for PTAs.
yeah.
Which is great that they've done that because some other fields we've seen it completely fluctuate, like teachers for the longest time, they almost made it
Mm-hmm.
too hard to become a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and then they didn't have enough, and then they made it too easy, and now they had too many, so, like,
Yeah,
I will say they have done a great job at kinda keeping it, like, leveled that you can always find a job. It might not
yeah,
be the perfect job, but you can
yeah.
find one for the time being.
Right.
So
And I love that our field, like, let's say, like a lot of you guys said, if you experience burnout, you're like, I hate outpatient, I want to leave. You can leave without going back and getting another degree. You might need a
mhm,
couple of
Mhm.
certs, maybe a con ed here and there, but you don't have to go back to school to change your career path, your setting.
yep,
And I love that. And I love that we have options even outside of patient care, because a lot of people are going to get to the age where they're like, my body is tired. I have a lot of kids and I don't think I can do this anymore, or, not this setting. What else is out there? And I love
mhm,
that we come together as a community and be like, hey, I do this. I'm a DOR, or I did home health, or, I did sales. And I think it's just that support that we need, that one I felt like we didn't have as students outside of school
mhm,
and our classmates, because it's kind of scary, that transition from new grad to in the field. It's just like, okay, what am I
There's
doing?
already
I don't
so
even know.
much going on then,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
yeah,
much. And so I think it's helpful, and that's my target audience is yeah, obviously student PTAs and PTAs in general, seasoned or not, but that very close niche of like new grad era, maybe 1 to 2 years
mhm.
after you graduate. It's very scary. You're job hopping, you're setting hopping, you don't know if this is right or wrong, you're doubting yourself, a lot of imposter syndrome, and that's
Oh,
like
I
my
still have
target.
that
Yeah,
in my 4 years
I
in,
know.
let's be
I tell
honest
them,
here.
I'm just like, no, like, you guys should see me how many times I like do an exercise on the wrong limb.
Mhm,
Like, it happens. We're human, and I think that now we can sit back and joke about it. And it was never anything serious. We never hurt anybody, but like when you're in the moment, it's like, oh my god, what am I
Yeah.
doing?
I'm gonna get fired over this. Like, literally,
Yeah.
I gave an exercise when I first came out to a
Hmm.
patient, and it was probably more intense, and he was in a little bit more pain, and,
Hmm.
like, it wasn't a bad exercise, it was just
Hmm.
a little higher end for him, and I literally was with Ken. Ken was my technician, and I was like, "Well, this is my last day." Like, I literally was
Mhm.
am thinking I'm getting fired over this because the patient felt worse, and it's like,
Yeah.
"Nope, that's gonna happen. You don't know they can't advance until you try something like that."
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
and
It's a
that's the
lot
thing
of
you don't
trial and
know.
error.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like reassuring people that, because I'm just like, and PT is a really safe route when it comes to like the legal aspect. You have to really do some crap to get
Mhm.
fired, to
Right.
get sued. You really have to physically harm somebody. It's just, it to me it feels safe. And a PTA, I feel safe. I got my supervising therapist. I got a director or a manager. I got malpractice insurance or whatever. So
Yep.
it's not like, and we get all this from a script from another doctor. So I'm like, we have a lot of umbrellas over us to protect us. I feel like it's a safe field when it comes into like the medical thing, because nobody wants to get sued. But this is, I feel like PT is very safe.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I feel like it you're the last one to come after. You have to be doing some
Mm,
very malpractice,
Yeah.
yeah.
hard, like, purposely harmful stuff in a
Right.
way to get her to do it. Like,
Mm,
and there's a lot of learning, and I think that's the thing too, is a lot of it when you come out of school, you're just, like, so scared in a way of, like, feeling like you need to know it all, which
yeah.
that's not the case. And granted, I think that's a little bit, on us in the field and the PTs also in the field, because sometimes you're just so used to kinda coming in and having people know it,
Hmm.
or each person's slightly different, so sometimes we can have expectations that aren't realistic for people coming right out, and I think
Yeah.
we just have to check ourselves for that too and just remind ourselves, like, we didn't know it all coming out, they're not gonna know it all coming out, give them
We
grace
still
and
don't
everything
know
like
it
that. Oh,
all.
I don't
Yeah, we really don't.
there's so much I can learn. I'm
Yeah.
I'm not a book smart person, and I'll be the
Mhm.
first to be honest with that. Like, a lot of times I'm still checking my protocols because I can't memorize those kind of things, which
Yep.
that's fine. That's what they're
Yep.
there for.
Right. I rather you don't know and you look it up than you
Yep,
don't know and you just wing it, and
yep. I
God
can't tell
forbid
you
what could.
how many questions I asked the first, and still even to this day. Like, I'm a month in part-time with this new company, but it's part-time, so it still takes a little longer to get used to it. But I'm still asking questions like, how did you want this done? You've got psoas stretch that can be performed 5 different ways. What way do you want? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't get me wrong, I know what the stretch is, but there's so many different ways to perform that stretch.
Mhm.
What are we doing here? So, and so, yeah, no, I'm totally with you on that. And, I know this went a little bit longer. See, I told you
As always.
It's
every single
okay.
time
Like
we just start
I can
talking.
Like, I can keep
I've
going
still
too, I
got
guess.
yeah, I've got more.
But
We'll have to
But
do a part
we have part
2.
2.
well, we have
We'll do a
part
part
2 over on your page actually
Okay, we
coming
could
up.
do that.
2.
So don't
Definitely.
forget to yes. So if you guys tune in here or if you're coming in afterwards, if you were on Margie's page and then came over to ours, we will be talking with each other, going in a little bit more depth. Mm, yeah, so make sure you go over
I was like,
to
where?
her page.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know where I was finishing that,
Yeah.
but
Follow all the pages.
yeah, follow all the
Follow all the
pages. Her
pages.
content is amazing. She's getting a little taste of being a patient right now. So
Yes.
you guys, it's
Talk about
fun to
that.
watch.
You started your own podcast too. We could talk about that. Like,
Mhm.
there's so much
There's so much.
that we
We'll,
can still.
I'm sure we'll have a part 2 on here anyways, let's be honest. But thanks
Thanks,
again
guys.
so much for joining. We really, really appreciate it.
Yes,
and again,
definitely.
I'm sure this won't be the last.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. Thank you.
but all right, guys, don't forget to like, follow, check
Do all
out
the
both.
things.
Yeah, I was about to say, check out both of our Instagrams, both of our podcasts. You can find all of those links in both of our descriptions, the Not Just a PTA page and then also the PT Assistants. Don't forget that right now, the month of December, we are taking some time for ourselves and we are posting only one time a week. So it'll be every Wednesday. You can catch the new episode, but go back, listen to some good old ones. They're amazing. Ish. I will say the beginning
They're
ones
getting
are
better.
rushed.
Yeah.
Those
It's
ones are-
always the beginning. There's so
It's
much
always the
white
beginning
noise
ones.
on mine. And
Oh my
I
gosh,
should have
the
edited
cringe.
this.
I'm like, I don't want to ever go listen to
Yeah.
our first episode because I'm like the cringe of listening to myself. But actually, a lot of people like that episode. But yeah, so don't forget, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful holiday season, and we will catch you next time. Bye.
Yeah, take care.